Lauren, I wonder if Meta will come out with little ad overlays that they just automatically add to all of your creatives that have little holiday things on them or something like that. I feel like
Oh
they like
yeah, like
stick AI
percentages
in
off.
creative anyway.
I love dynamic overlays, man. I'm a sucker for them. Um,
I had a question. What is like the coolest thing you bought last year for the holiday season? Or what's the thing you got where you were like, yes, I got such a deal. Like I got this thing. Like what sticks out? Because I always try to not shop for myself during the holiday season because I'm like, I'll just put it on a list. And then I end up buying a lot because so many things go on sale.
hmm.
It's a good question. I'm one of the people, I'm always the person in all of the partner trend presentations where they're like, there is a cohort of people that fully miss Black Friday and shop after, and that's me every year. So I'm the like delayed shopper that Google and Meta identifies as like still advertised to that person in December. So
It's
I'm
it's
the
probably
person,
an aspect I feel like of anyone who works in like e-commerce, whether brand side or advertising. It's like the shoemaker shoes. Like everyone, like we are so
totally.
busy
Yeah,
Hmm.
like helping make the holiday shopping season happen that like you yourself forget then to go shop. Um,
totally.
I feel like last year I have a 2-year-old. Well, she was one then, but so it was like her first Christmas, she was only like 6 months old. So like she could barely open gifts. She wasn't really into what was going on. But last year, like being one was like her first Christmas where she really started to understand like gifts and holiday and like the idea of like there's going to be this day where like you wake up and there's just gifts. So I probably went overboard on like Cyber Weekend shopping for her. It's like not even anything cool, but just like it is like a cliche, but it's like that girl math where I'm like, I lose money if I don't just buy her everything now. Did she probably need everything? No, but it was on sale. So I did
Yeah.
it because otherwise I would have lost money. Right?
Yes.
Mm.
I love that. My in-laws gave us all custom sets of chopsticks with our name engraved on them, which I was like,
Ooh,
this is really cool because we
That
all have
is
sushi.
cool.
Like
That is very cool.
personalization.
that is cool.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
gonna
all for
ask, I
it.
was like, hopefully you eat a lot of like, I'm like, I still
We
don't use
do.
chopsticks well.
And yeah, I think the impetus was my 6-year-old is now like suddenly into sushi. And it's like, we want to like support that, even though it's way too expensive. But
My 6-year-old is also into sushi, but it has to be a specific kind. So we're not putting, she's not into the fish. So I got a sushi making kit so that we don't have to spend all this money on unnecessary sushi.
I love that idea.
But you said she doesn't like fish.
She'll eat like the deep fried stuff, but
Yeah.
she just likes the seaweed and rice, so I can like wrap that up in this
Oh yeah.
kit, slice it up myself. But I want to welcome everyone to 7 hidden revenue killers in your holiday strategy. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're zooming in from, what you hope to learn. I see we've got Ernest from Groton. Oh, you're a wedding officiant. Justice of the Peace. Interesting. Um, so today's webinar, we're going to cover quite a bit about things that are killing revenue during the holidays, obviously. Holiday spending hit 282 billion last year, but the same playbook won't cut it this season. Buyer behavior, algorithms, and ad performance are already shifting. In the next hour, we'll break down where revenue slips through the cracks and how to stop it before Q4 hits full swing. If we can go to the next slide, I'll introduce our speakers. We've got Lauren Leister, the SVP of social media. Lauren has more than a decade of experience driving growth through social. She leads teams that turn creative ideas into campaigns that convert, keeping brands ahead of shifting platform trends. We've got Logan Durant, SVP of paid media. Logan has been building paid media programs at Go Fish for 11 years. He's launched our Google Shopping and Marketplace services and now oversees strategies from some of our largest clients. And then we've got Megan Houston here, who's the VP of Digital Marketing Strategy. She helps brands cut through noise with strategies built for performance. In her 5 years at GoFish, she's led teams delivering consistent growth while making sure every tactic ties back to revenue. You can move forward.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining. I think we heard a couple things from our last webinar that we wanted to make sure we cover today. So we always get questions about how to identify hidden leaks in your holiday campaigns. Like, where am I spending money that I could be spending elsewhere? So we'll chat about that today. We'll talk about how AI search is reshaping holiday discovery and what to do about it, how to get that traffic out of ChatGPT and onto your site. And then we'll chat through some of the most common Meta and Google mistakes that we see from incoming clients that we're able to fix ahead of Q4. And we'll also talk through some email strategies that cut through the millions of emails that everybody gets over Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. So the main focus of our webinar today and what you'll take away is the 7 revenue killers to fix now before we enter Q4. So we'll give you a Band-Aid before you leave today. So as we chat through that, I want to understand what your biggest focus is as you prep for Q4. And this will help us guide our conversation today, right? Are you focused on testing new creative across Meta, TikTok, Performance Max? Are you building up your email list? Are you a lead gen website? Are you trying to get your budgets approved? We still have clients looking to do that too. Is your tracking not totally set yet? And you need to understand what foundationally you should be tracking before you start to invest in Q4? Or are you still figuring it all out? And that's why you're here today. And that's okay. Awesome. So yeah, give a couple seconds more for the poll here, and then we can jump into how things have changed. All right, awesome. Perfect. So we'll give a couple examples of what our clients have done that have seen success over Black Friday, Cyber Monday sprinkled throughout this webinar. So if you're looking for ideas of things to try or test, you should get some here. So this is a case study from one of our clients, Apartment 2B Modern Furniture. They sell custom upholstered furniture, mainly sectionals, sleeper sofas, you name it. And what we did was we tested a hyper-targeted YouTube ad across one of their target markets across November and December of last year. And what we did is we hyper-targeted that video within that target market to see if we could drive a lift in branded searches for Apartment 2B during that time. That's key because competing for non-brand, as we all know, during Black Friday, Cyber Monday can be very expensive, right? A search for a sleeper sofa could cost a couple bucks in June, but it could cost 5x that Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend because everyone's bidding higher for those same terms. So if you can try to drive brand demand now, before the holidays start, you'll see a cheaper cost per click for your brand when you're really trying to get customers in there during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So this worked. If you have a target market, this could be a great test for you to run. We saw a 600% increase in brand searches for Apartment 2B during that time, which was incredible. A 13% lift in branded consideration, a 26% lift in brand awareness. And really the key metric that we were going for here is a 30% lift in purchase intent. From that target market group. So this is really key. If you have the opportunity to use ad platforms like YouTube, Meta, TikTok to drive brand demand and lift the purchase intent of people who may already know about your brand ahead of when you're running all of these sales and promotions and it gets really expensive to get people to your site, you'll be ahead of the game. So start thinking about this now, how you can start to test some of this in October, early November. And with that, we can jump into 3 different ways to start to do that. So the first is as you start to generate more brand demand, as you start to really outreach to your customer group ahead of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, make sure that you have a rock solid way to capture any person that gets to your site. So review all of your email capture methods. What does your site purchase pop-up look like? When does it activate? Is it activating too late? Have they already left the site? How do they sign up for email on the site? What do they get for signing up, right? And make sure your list building strategy is set to grow them, right? Don't just send them one welcome email and then forget about them, right? You want to make sure you have a flow, they keep coming back, and then all of those people that have signed up are getting exclusive offers, they feel a part of your brand community, they feel educated on your products so that well ahead of promotion season, they feel well equipped to buy from you. So this is really key. Second is audit last year's Q4 performance. So kind of like we talked about with the Apartment 2B video, what works and resonates with your customers. So before you even go out and start to reach them, what are you going to say? And the way that you identify that is taking a look at last year, identifying top performing sale ads, what generated the most revenue for you, what had the highest click-through rates, or what had the most leads, or the lowest customer acquisition cost. And then if you see any gaps, hey, we didn't really have any ads that performed well with net new customers, or all of our retargeting ads or loyalty ads were sort of lackluster, try to develop new concepts now, test them out in October, early November, and then employ what works in November. So the third tip I have for you is also make sure that your marketing calendar and budgets are fully mapped, right? So you don't want to go into mid-November and then still be deciding your Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer. Make sure that you have that nailed down well ahead of Q4. Also making sure that you can then input that offer into your emails, into your ads, schedule it in Google, schedule it in Meta and TikTok, and then also confirm your budgets with your full team so everybody knows what you should be spending. Another flex tip we have here is we often see Cyber Monday, Black Friday are either in November and December or just in November. So I always recommend a flex budget between November and December, right? You know it needs to be spent before your last shipping cutoff date. So try to flex that budget between November and December as much as you can in case you see better sales on Cyber Monday versus Black Friday. Perfect. With that, I can hand things over to Lauren and we'll jump into paid media.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. So yes, to Megan's point, let's kick off by talking about the two platforms that really do tend to make or break most holiday revenue for brands. And that's because a lot of brands are focusing a lot of their investment here, and that is on Meta and Google. So each year we see brands come in with strong creative, they have strong offers, but dollars are still slipping through the crack. Revenue is still left on the table. Why? That's because a lot of times the biggest killers actually aren't even just in your strategy. There are a lot of points that Megan just talked about where strategy is key. But there are often times where if you are not aware of what is happening within the platform mechanics, so how Meta and Google are running their auctions, how they're prioritizing content, you might miss out on some opportunities there. And during the holiday season, when we are seeing increases in competition, we're seeing rising CPMs, we tend to see those cracks widen because the algorithms are having to lean harder into automation. So if you don't understand those nuances, there's a chance that you are going to be leaving revenue on the table. So the platform shifts that you can't ignore. Let's start with Meta. So Meta has made a lot of changes over the last few years, really pushing aggressively into automation, into AI, particularly its Advantage Plus suite. It has campaign budget optimization, AI audience expansion. These tools can be incredibly powerful. But what you need to be careful of is that that is leveling the playing field to the extent, right? Everyone has the same switch. And so what we have to do is figure out what lever do we now have instead that is going to differentiate us and make us unique compared to our competitors. And the lever that we have that is still the most effective is creative. And so we want to make sure that we have the right creatives. We want to make sure we have diversified creatives because that is going to be what sets us apart from our competitors. And it's going to be what helps us to expand our reach, but expand our reach in a meaningful way as well, so that we're hopefully hitting the right customers at the right time with the right message. And so having that diversification of messaging, of ad types is going to be incredibly important to success. We've also seen shifts on Google, and they are equally disruptive. To Megan's point, AI overviews and just evolving SERP layouts are starting to bury kind of traditional links and change the landscape for how we did traditionally see paid search operate. And with that, even things like strong SEO pages can get pushed down below product listing ads, below the AI snippets that are now starting to preload and direct you to different links into, Chat GPT itself. And so in those cases, if we're just relying, potentially on broad match without a lot of close oversight, we may find that our budget is not nearly as effective as it used to be because we are maybe, operating in the way we always have been instead of pushing our efforts into matching those AI needs in the way that AI is now integrating, both in terms of kind of like Meta from an auction perspective, but just also how people are starting to consume data. So really the key here is Platform shifts are not going to wait for your Q4 planning cycle, your holiday strategies. They are happening, they've been happening. And so it's really important to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on there so that you can make sure that your strategies are as up to date as possible and taking advantage of those differences as well as finding those opportunities to differentiate yourself. And so I will pre-tease too that. From that audit perspective, we are here to help you with that as well. We're going to have an opportunity where if you are interested, you can sign up to have a free audit with our team, no risk, no strings attached, where we can take a look at your account and see how you are leaning into those platform changes that have been occurring. And if there is anything that we would recommend that you change in order to maximize your holiday revenue and your holiday experience. So, like I mentioned, though, creative is one of the biggest things that we can control when it comes to any platform, and specifically one of the strongest levers we can pull that is a differentiator. And so, here are some opportunities to really zoom in on creative and that promo visibility because holidays, to Megan's point, or if you heard our conversation at the top, people are just keyed in on promotions. They are trained to expect promotions during what used to just be Black Friday. It evolved into Cyber Monday. It is now Cyber 5. I don't even know if there is really a name for how long it does expand now in terms of a week plus where people are ready and expecting and oftentimes waiting for the sales that are going to come during that time period. So that makes the bar much higher for standing out. Essentially, you need to have that messaging that's going to drive urgency, yet still drive trust to get those conversions. And so there are different ways that we can do that, right? One of my favorite is Meta, their dynamic ad frames. There's some different ways that you can approach this, but it's a really great way to showcase your promotions. It's a great way to bring a higher visual kind of eye-catching touch to what is traditionally just maybe a product ad, which is one of the highest converting, most intent-based ads, but can admittedly be a little boring sometimes. It's just PDP imagery. So DPA overlays are a great way to do that. On Google, you've got tools like promo extensions, strike through pricing, countdown timers. These are ways that we can really drive that urgency, and they're not just bringing a visual aspect, they are actually going to help to drive those conversions. Someone who sees a price slash, someone who sees a countdown is going to know that they need to act now versus later, especially when we are in an era where consumers aren't exactly sure if or when promotions are ending because we do have this kind of expanded time cycle. We want to make sure that we are pushing for the conversion when we can as soon as a customer is exposed. And last but not least, we do not want to forget our own channels. So, obviously we talk a lot about paid media, but one of the mistakes we have is that brands lean entirely on paid platforms and they do forget one of the other big levers that they actually own and control, and that is their owned media. And so particularly with that email, Megan touched on this earlier, how important it is to have a flow to one, make sure that you're capturing those emails and capturing that information, that you're building your CRM lists, but making sure that you are nurturing them through the process. And so when it comes to the holidays, email is a great opportunity to essentially hedge against some of the volatility that you might see from your paid media programs, right? We were talking about increased CPMs, CPCs, the high competition that can throttle your reach. But your email list, that's yours and it's fully within your control. So use it not just as a sales channel, but a reinforcement of what people are engaging with on paid media as well, right? It should be a seamless experience that if they're engaging with your brand, they're seeing the same messaging, the same tone, the same creative on the paid channels as they are on your own channels. And that way, paid can help to create that spark, but then own channels will essentially kind of carry that flame and push them through to the end. So if you're only relying on paid, you are missing out on a huge value that could really leave revenue on the table and cause you to miss out during really what is the most competitive quarter of the year. And I can hand back to Megan.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, if we jump into the next slide, something that is really a buzzword in marketing right now is AI. So AI is truly reshaping the way that customers discover new brands, whether that's through AI-generated social media algorithms on TikTok and on Meta, whether it's through AI no-click searches on Google. But AI is truly reshaping the way that customers discover new brands, and conversational search has adapted SEO completely. So really what's happening here is that customers can find you not only by searching on Google or on Microsoft, but they can put into ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc., what are the best holiday gifts for new moms? And so not only do you have to have optimized product pages, but you should also have blog content, informational content on your site that adapts for conversational search, right? So what's the gift for the mom who has everything, right? ChatGPT can maybe pull that, but they'll use content on your site to inform what they should pull. So if we jump into the next slide here, a couple ways to think about that is structure your pages for AI visibility, right? So make sure that they're query centered and not just product focused, right? So why should someone buy that product? Why would someone be searching for that product? And think about some thought leadership content as well. Both Google and AI engines like ChatGPT and Perplexity take into account your site's content quality and what it perceives as that site's experience or expertise in the space to then rank it according to best practices. So add product Q&A content as well. FAQs we found among our SEO clients to be really key, both on product and category pages in helping AI understand what commonly asked questions are about that product. And then also build assets that surface in AI results like gift guides, blogs, thought leadership content, because a lot of that content is going to be pulled into some of those non-click searches. And even without seeing the click, that is still a great way for a customer to discover your site and land there. Perfect. So a couple notes on how to then retarget customers after they come to your site the first time. So email is really key around holiday. If you're not doing email, you should start now and start IP warming and list warming. But if we jump into the first slide here, a couple notes on what's working, what's not working in email marketing right now. So, and especially what works in Q4. So what works for email marketing is certainly segmentation and smart flows. I talked about that a little bit earlier when you're acquiring someone on your site, making sure that you don't just send them one welcome email, but that you're sending them a full flow. And that flow should be branded, right? It should bring them into not only just your funnel of trying to get them to buy, but also your brand community, because there's going to be multiple opportunities to buy. Most brands run multiple promotions and offers during Q4. So bring them in, make them feel like they truly understand your brand and your products, and then when the time is right, they will buy. And another note here is that customers don't only want to see promos, they want to see your suggestions for gifts, buying guides, new product drops. So a lot of what you hear me say, like gift guides, buying guides, these are both for email and organic content, and then they can also help with SEO and AI visibility. So these things really work double duty. And then also note too that segmentation and testing really beats just blasting your entire list with a discount every single time. A lot of the times, if you blast your entire list with a discount, it won't even land in their inbox. Email providers are going to know, okay, this was sent to way too many people that are totally unengaged. So make sure that you're segmenting your list by their behavior on site, right? Did they view or purchase from a specific category? They might still be interested in that category, or give them something to build their routine or expand their assortment. So what we often see that doesn't work, if we could pop to the next slide, is oversending. So really segmentation is key, not only to make your customers feel more inclined to buy, but also just to land in the inbox at first try. And then also generic campaigns, right? Like customers signed up for emails for exclusive discounts, education, blogs, information. So just sending them, hey, we're 50% off today, 7 days in a row, you're probably more likely to get an unsubscribe than a purchase. So personalize those emails to your most engaged segments to get the most out of each send. And also know that including some branded content or information among your promotional sends will certainly help performance in the long run. So couple more do this, not that for holiday. Definitely triggered win back series within email. That is a big tip for holiday. Start to win back some of those customers now. Try to get them any unengaged or users that haven't clicked on an email in a while. Either try to win them back or clean them from your list, because the better open and send rates you have during Q4, the better chance you have of landing in the inbox. Also, I kind of mentioned this earlier in the call, but flex budgets and goals, right? Don't have a really hard budget for November and not think that some of that's going to bleed into December, right? Because you want to make sure that you can be flexible throughout the holiday season Maybe you have really great shipping and your last ship date is kind of later than a lot of your competitors. You might see a little surge in the week or two before Christmas, with people buying from you versus maybe spending way too much on Black Friday. And then also optimize for AI visibility now. Build those gift guides, add content to your landing pages, become an expert and build content around what your customers are looking for. Instead of blasting your 30% off emails to everybody, having really strict, focused budget caps on days where you might be missing opportunity or your budgets might run out by noon. And don't wait for traffic to drop off, right? Try to really make sure that you're optimizing for AI visibility now so that if you start to see traffic drops later in the day, then you already know that your AI content is going to pick that up, even if your ads are not. Cool. So I want to understand from each person here, and we've kind of chatted through a couple of the notes from the first poll. What challenge do you expect is going to be the toughest for your team to manage this holiday season? We see rising costs, certainly, and then with that comes profitability, right? Are you seeing slimmer margins? Are you seeing tariffs? Are you seeing rising costs impact your bottom line? Or are you not showing up in AI? Do you not have that thought leadership content or blog content? Do you not have the creative for holiday, or you just not really sure where to go with creative? Or if you're not sure yet, that's okay. But let us know in the poll. We'll give it about a minute or so here, and then we can jump into the 7 revenue killers. All right, perfect. With that, Lauren, I can hand things over to you, and let's jump into the 7 revenue killers.
Perfect. Yeah. So if you got distracted by a Slack message, now it's time to come back. These are going to be a few of the heavy hitters that we want to make sure that you are looking at, right? So if you've got some key focuses heading into the holiday season, as you craft your holiday strategy, these are patterns that we see pop up year after year across industries, across spend levels. So if you can spot and solve a few of these, even within your own strategy, you will protect and gain a lot more revenue this quarter. So the first one that we love to talk about is misaligned messaging. I touched on this earlier, right? And that people are primed for promotions during this time of year. And last year, 50% of consumers actually expected deals that were quote unquote too good to pass up. So they are wanting to make sure that they're getting the best deal possible. And so you do need to make sure that your messaging is in line with that. If not, there's a really high chance that you are going to be overlooked. And quite honestly, if brands are in industries where they don't participate in the holiday season and cyber weekend, a lot of times we actually recommend they pull back their spend as to not compete and lose visibility against what people are not going to be looking for in that moment. So make sure that you've got that out there. The average discount rate is going up year after year. We're seeing that forward trend. So the average discount rate last holiday season was 28%, and that was up from 27% a year prior. So that'll just give you a little key insight into kind of where your competitors likely are going to be playing in terms of promotional discounts that are available and where you might be able to find that sweet spot in order to protect your profit but still drive maximum revenue.
All right, and the second revenue killer is not optimizing your Google listings for SGE, search generation experience, search generative experience. So there, you've heard Lauren and Megan talk about this the whole webinar. AI is changing the search landscape. AI overviews in particular are dramatically reducing clicks that are happening to websites from the search results page. So you have to optimize your content on your website to ensure that you are showing up in these AI overviews. So there's a lot here. We'll hit on a few of them. Comprehensive coverage. So everything that you can write about on your site, from blog topics to content for category pages, subcategory pages, service pages, that should all be filled out to the fullest and complete, because AI does a great job with summarizing comprehensive pieces of content. You should be writing in plain language. So if you use too much jargon, AI might not know what that means. The LLMs are good at creating or measuring relationships between language, but if it's too jargony, they may not pick up on it and you may not show in the search results page. Make sure to include FAQs and Q&A because a lot of people are asking questions in Google of AI, and AI does a great job of finding answers to those questions. So FAQs are really key for showing up in AI overviews. And last thing I'll hit on is using images and videos. So it's not just about the qualitative content, but sort of like rich content across many different types of media. All right, on to number three, improper campaign segmentation. So this can hurt you on social, paid search, as well as product ads. The thing that you have to really keep an eye on in social is the audiences. Sometimes people, when they're building campaigns, they tend to group together cold audiences, remarketing audiences, past purchase audiences. And what this does is it doesn't allow you the levers for optimization on these audiences. So you can't optimize the spend on cold versus remarketing versus past purchase. And since these campaigns are trying to hit a ROAS target in general, they might just go much more towards remarketing, past purchase audiences to try to get that low hanging fruit. And they may over index on those and not really drive that cold audience purchase that you're looking for. In paid search, you want to make sure that branded terms, non-branded terms, dynamic search ads, and competitor terms are all segmented. These terms tend to have very different performance within paid search. So being able to kind of group those together makes a lot of sense. Also, they're going to have different ad copy and sometimes different landing pages. So grouping these together is going to improve your ad copy strength scores and kind of improve the customer experience as well. When it comes to product ads, you want to group together products that share similar search terms and similar performance. So similar to these social campaigns that we talked about that have these ROAS targets, when you group products together that have similar performance, it's going to allow the algorithms to much more easily kind of show those products with consistency, and you're not having one product that's returning super high and one product that's returning super low. So it's going to allow you to kind of like allocate the investments a lot more strategically and ultimately allow you to scale revenue a lot more quickly. All right, and number four is relying on outdated ROAS reporting. So we know all these platforms are really ROAS hungry. They all want to take credit for the sale. So while we do want to look at channel level ROAS, I think it's almost more important to look at holistic measurements like MER. So looking at the total ad spend across all of your channels, comparing it to your website revenue to kind of like remove that platform bias. You also want to make sure that you run conversion lift studies in platform to measure incrementality. So YouTube has this, Meta has this. A lot of platforms will allow you to run either brand lift or conversion lift studies to really see what parts of your ad spend are contributing to incremental purchases and revenue. And then to get more advanced, you'll want to introduce either media mix modeling or multi-touch attribution tools. Media mix is like a great solution for companies that have, let's say, like integrated media. So they're doing media digital, they're doing traditional media. They need ways of measuring the impacts of all of those things together. It takes a lot of data, but it's well worth it if you have the amount of data required to get good results. And then lastly, MTAs are really great if you have just like this multi-channel customer journey that you really need to measure and understand the different touch points and optimize ad dollars across those touch points.
So as we talk about preheating audiences, we want to make sure that we understand that holiday success isn't just about Cyber Week. It's actually what you do leading up to it as well. So while a lot of consumers do often wait and pull back their spending until that time period because they are aware that promotions are going to be coming down the line traditionally, if you do wait until that time to ramp your spend, you're one, going to be paying the highest CPMs, and you're also going to be entering that time period, that extremely competitive time period, with the lowest brand equity. So what we look for is brands that are going to preheat their audience weeks in advance. It starts getting your customers familiar with products. Back to email, we are capturing emails, we are starting that flow, we are continuing to nudge along that consideration. We're essentially making sure that we are going to be top of mind once the holiday season and those holiday sales do kick in. A lot of times people are preloading their carts, they're building their wish lists. And so that's a great opportunity to even use some of that creative messaging to ensure that they are taking those actions on your site, right? Because yes, it's getting them to make an account. It's getting them to preload their carts so that hopefully when the prices are increasing, they're maybe one, having to convert without an incremental essentially investment in them during the holiday season and during that Cyber 5. But even if you are, you're hopefully having to only hit them with maybe one more touch point to bring them back in, remind them of their cart that is sitting there to get them to convert without necessarily having to compete against that. So again, we see lower CPMs during that lead up, and you will also see lower CPMs during Cyber 5. If you do have an audience that is preheated and ready to go, you are going to have a lot more of an opportunity to serve ads and get them ready for the sale ahead of time. And ultimately, that will net out in both higher conversion rates and increased revenue for you at the end of the Cyber Weekend sales. Megan also touched on this one earlier. Rule number 6, rigid budgets are going to mean missed returns. So fixed budgets, they are a silent killer. The holidays are dynamic. So whether we're talking about having rigid monthly budgets, right, where we see performance swing day to day, you may have a stronger Cyber Monday than you were predicting. You may want to pull budget forward because Black Friday is just absolutely crushing it. It changes day to day, it changes hour by hour. So if you're locked into rigid daily caps, monthly caps, weekly caps, you're going to miss out on those opportunities to essentially capitalize on that opportunity. Instead, my recommendation is set a floor ROAS that you're comfortable with, something that is going to ensure that you're generating revenue and generating profit at a level that is going to be what you need in order to sustain business and feel like you are generating the profit on top of the discount that is going to make the investment worthwhile. If you do that, you can essentially build in that fluidity. You will shift dollars to what's working and you will continue to scale spend as long as you stay above that return threshold. So that flexibility is where you're really going to see those outsized gains. It's where you're going to maximize revenue and you're going to ensure that you're not leaving any dollars behind that you could have otherwise converted on because you just didn't have enough budget or you ran out too early in the day or you were saving it for Cyber Monday and maybe Cyber Monday isn't as effective as you thought. So take advantage of the sales while you have them. And like I said, as long as you go in with that floor ROAS and that understanding of where you need your profitability to be, you can confidently spend and confidently scale your spend in order to hit those revenue goals. Last but not least, in terms of our 7 revenue killers, the last one actually expands beyond just that Cyber 5 and that holiday season, and that is forgetting about post-purchase loyalty. You don't think of the holidays as just acquisition. So yes, discounts are going to drive that first purchase, but really the long-term value to this is going to be also turning those deal hunters into loyalists to your company. So that means having follow-up campaigns. That means upsells and cross-sells, bundles, subscriptions, balancing out their routine, finding opportunities for them to continue to buy or restock depending on that. You want to make sure that you are providing some personalized offers, whether that is via paid media, whether that is via your own channels, to ensure that you are going to build that advocacy and that loyalty so that while you acquired them during Cyber 5, potentially with those discounts, you're actually turning them into a loyal full price customer that is going to bring a lot more value and revenue to your company in the long run. And so that future acquisitions only build on top of that rather than just living in this kind of slow, profitable death where you're just replacing new revenue and new customers with lost and churn customers. We don't want to lose them. We don't want to churn. We want to build on top. Otherwise, our ROAS may look good, but we're not actually growing the business overall. So it's really important to really make sure that Cyber 5 is just the start of a consumer journey and it isn't the end all be all opportunity to have them. So with that, those are our 7 most common killers that we see. And so with that, I do want to bring back to this opportunity to get a free holiday performance audit. So if you genuinely believe that there is maybe even a single area where you do not have your strategy fully locked in or are fully confident in how it's going to perform or how it's going to marry with a lot of the changes that we've seen in the platforms recently, please check. Yes, please. We would love to conduct a free holiday performance audit for you. We will take a look at how your accounts are set up, how your media is currently being run so that we can see if there's any opportunities for where we might be able to tighten things up to avoid any losses of revenue. AI, like we mentioned, is on the uptick for both social and search. And so we can help to find opportunities as it relates to AI to make sure that we're leaning into that as much as possible. We are going to deliver to you some actionable campaign fixes, things that we know for a fact are going to clean up for your program and help drive additional revenue. And we always love to tell people that past audits, a lot of our clients have seen a lift in ROAS up to 18% in just the first 30 days. So we're usually able to find some really actionable items that are going to result in immediate revenue gains for you, which we do know is important because while it is September, the holiday season truly is just around the corner when we really needed to be starting to plan and get ahead of that. So that is where we would love to really come into play and help you out. So again, if you are at all interested, no strings attached. Please check that. Yes, please. And you will get an opportunity to meet with Logan, Megan, myself as we take a look at your account and your different services to see where we might be able to help you out in order to make sure that you are truly maximizing your revenue for the year ahead. Perfect. So as we close that out, really, what is the key takeaway from this, right? We've talked about mistakes that are going to kill revenue. But here's the good news. There are brands that do consistently outperform, and that doesn't necessarily mean bigger budgets or fancier tech. They are focusing on pulling the right levers. And when those levers are pulled, momentum doesn't stop at Cyber 5, right? It continues to carry on through Q4 into the new year and allows them to continue to grow from a profitability perspective. So, what are those three levers? That is AI, agility, and alignment. So AI is the first lever. I think it's the key word we've said many, many times throughout this course of the presentation, right? We're probably past the point where AI is just a buzzword. It truly has started to become the foundation for targeting, for measurement, for optimization. So the brands that are doing things well right now are those that are leaning into AI to essentially start to simplify what was previously complex. They let it surface signals faster. It allows them to test and operate at scale, and it allows them to make smarter decisions in real time or even instantaneous in ways that we weren't previously able to do before. The second lever is going to be agility. So that is making sure that we are not just setting quarterly plans and sticking to them. No, we are fast moving, we are agile, we are adjusting week by week, we are adjusting day by day. We are shifting dollars into what's working. We're not living in silos. We're operating in a cross-channel capacity. We've got clear measurement set up so that we know where the next invested dollar is going to perform best. And we're making sure that we're putting it in that channel against that audience with the right message. So it's not just about being reactive, it's about being nimble in doing so and making sure that you're ready to adjust at a moment's notice and having those plans preset and able to do so. Last but not least, that third lever is going to be alignment. So this is where the best returns show up. This is when your creative, your budgets, and your channel are all telling one cohesive story, right? Whether someone's first engagement is on a paid channel, they come to site, they give you their email, they then enter an email flow. We want to make sure that it's a seamless user experience and that every impression has a meaningful impact on that user. We don't want them to feel like they're just being hit by random ads or they're being spammed. We want it to feel like it's a cohesive, seamless journey from brand introduction to, building that consideration, preheating them, making sure they know what's coming down the road, to then being able to really come in with that last hit of urgency and purchase and promotion that's then going to set them up so that they can enter our loyalty queue, right? So that we really focus on building lifetime value. And so with that, it is really important to think about it into three different phases, right? We're going to be talking about preheating. We're going to be talking about the actual act of capturing that intent and getting them to convert, and then how we ultimately retain them, right? So when we talk about preheat, again, the big takeaway here is that brands need to start ramping early. Start testing creative, identify what works, start warming up those audiences so that by the time Cyber 5 hits, they already know you, they know your products, and you also know what is going to work against them when you're trying to reach them and basically make sure that you've got a high level of relative and resonance with them when it comes. We don't want to be putting the guesswork and the testing during the most expensive week of the year. We want to know what we're doing and we want to do it well. Then comes capture, right? So we're going to make sure that we are going to convert. We're going to be seeing competition spike. And this is the moment where we've done our preheating, we've done our testing. We are now going to double down on what we know works, what we've proven to be successful. We are going to be nimble. We're going to reallocate budgets in real time. We're going to operate cross-channel. We're going to use AI to make us even more nimble, to have AI-driven insights and allow AI to really move faster than even we could in those moments and find us the most efficient and effective ways to convert against customers. And we're going to make sure that we're capturing every penny that we can instead of leaving any revenue on the table. And last but not least, that final stage is retain. And this is where we do find that a lot of brands let off the gas, right? We understand it's tiring to get ready for Cyber Weekend. It's a lot of work that goes into that weekend and a lot of those efforts and through the holiday season, right? To shipping cutoff, to making sure they're in the holiday season. And it's okay to take a breather, but we don't want to completely let off of the gas pedal, right? This is where we want to make sure that for the customers that we acquire during Cyber 5, this is just the starting point. It's not the finish line. So we want to make sure that we have clear post-purchase journeys ready to go. So again, get those pre-locked and loaded, make sure that they're in place. So even once we're in that kind of post-holiday bliss, that we've got something that's automated and ready to continue to nurture them through that time period. They've got upsells, they've got loyalty offers, they've got tailored communications that make it feel personalized to them and that they're not just part of a kind of spam outreach. And that's really how we are going to turn those deal-driven promotional buyers again into those repeat full price customers who their increased lifetime value is really what's going to support your company's growth in the long run. So that approach is going to be how you win holiday in the long run. In the long run.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button.
No worries.
Thank you, Lauren. That was amazing. Megan, Logan. If you loved this webinar today, please join us on September 24th for the GEO and PR strategy for AI search. This webinar will teach you how to show up in ChatGPT and AI overviews. We could go to the next slide, please. Oh yeah, and we just dropped a link to sign up in the chat. And then also we wanted to let everyone know, same day actually, we are having an event at TikTok headquarters. We'd love for you to attend. I have a list of brands that are also attending alongside Go Fish Digital. We've got Temu, Dansko, Clean Beauty Co., Citibank, JP Morgan Chase. So if you're interested in attending this event, go ahead and scan the QR code or click the link that we just dropped in the chat. And then finally, if you loved the information you heard today, please feel free to scan these QR codes and follow our amazing experts on LinkedIn to gather more information. They publish content, they publish blogs about everything that they are expert in. And so I highly recommend following Megan, Lauren, and Logan. All right, so now we're going to open it up to Q&A. There's one thing that I wanted to ask the three of you, and that is we talked a lot about revenue killers in the holiday, but looking beyond holidays, do you have any advice for our audience on how to convert these new buyers into loyal customers that return again and again after the holidays?
I can jump in on that one.
Sure.
I think a lot of that has to do with how you manage your CRM, right? So making sure once you acquire a new customer, what is the journey for that person within your welcome flow? What's the journey for them if they purchase? How are you cross-selling to them? What content are they most interested in? So making sure that you have good data points to help you understand the interests and intents of that customer, using your first-party data to do that, and then crafting a journey for them in certainly email, but then also in places like Meta or Google where your budget allows. And I see Lauren nodding, so she may have some ideas on the Meta side.
Yes, no, I love to make sure that to Megan's point and kind of what we talked about, right, is that you continue to nurture them. One of my favorite ways to do that from a social perspective, because social does have the opportunity to be so creative heavy, is a focus on kind of very similar to when we talk about preheating, is like they may not be ready to reconvert again right away. But making sure you stay top of mind. And with that, one approach I do really love is leveraging partnership ads. So leveraging creators or influencers to essentially create a sense of community, right? And inviting those customers to be a part of this kind of ambassador program, right? To be able to align themselves with creators and influencers that they know who are also proponents of your brand. And so, really, what you're doing is you're building this emotional tie with them that is going to really help to make sure that when they are back in market or they're considering a cross sell, when they need to make a repeat purchase, that they are very much already invested in your brand, so that just making sure that we continue to invest in them throughout their cycle and really building that sense of community that I think is going to be very impactful to building a sense of loyalty.
Mhm.
Yeah, in Google Ads, we can take audiences built from the CRM techniques that Megan talked about and deploy them in loyalty-based campaigns. So we can deploy in Performance Max or Demand Gen, YouTube, with specific creatives for offers or cross sells or maybe replenishment of products that they have already gone through. So plenty of opportunity to deploy loyalty tactics on Google Ads as well.
Great. I have another question that's popped up. How can you tell if you're losing revenue, if it's from misaligned messaging or poor audience segmentation?
Some of that'll be within the metrics itself, right? So we do understand that you're going to naturally see an increase in CPMs, right, during Cyber Weekend. But if you're seeing above average increases in CPMs, and that is something that, candidly, like working with an agency partner is beneficial. We do have the ability to help provide benchmarks and see overall trends within the space and be really nimble to understand and say, hey, wow, compared to a cohort of 100 clients or 100 people in the space, yes, these CPMs are increasing quite a bit more compared to where our competitors are. And so that is obviously usually a misalignment in audience a lot of times when we're seeing a CPM issue, or if we're seeing engagement rates, i.e. mostly click-through rates, things like that, are lower than average compared to benchmarks that we traditionally see during that season, or quite frankly, even seeing live in that moment. That is often signs that messaging is not resonating. So either lower engagement rates or lower conversion rates are showing us that something in that user experience, from seeing the ad, understanding the content in the ad, to getting on site is not resonating with them. So that is where that being nimble really comes into play, because we're going to have to pivot and pivot quickly. And so what we like to do is, again, making sure that we have a lot of strategies pre-planned, so that we have those levers ready to pull and we're not scrambling at the last minute, but can instead say, hey, yep, we're going to toggle on this audience, or we're going to switch to this tactic, and be able to respond in the moment, and quite frankly, be able to respond instantaneously.
Great.
Yeah,
Anyone?
I'll echo all of that for sure. The click-through rate is a great leading indicator for like messaging quality and relevance. For campaign segmentation, I think it's looking at the revenue and seeing that it's not increasing like it did last year, the way that you're expecting. That could mean that the campaign is improperly segmented. You have too many things kind of jumbled together, maybe too much remarketing going on, a little too early, or maybe you didn't prime your audiences enough. But I think if you're not seeing that revenue arc that you're expecting, then you can look at the campaign segmentation as one of those first potential culprits.
Great. Thank you both so much. And then just a final question. With the AI overviews kind of taking over click-through rates on websites, what advice are you giving to clients about metrics that they should be concerned about, or how to appear in those search results?
I can take that one. Yeah, I think that's kind of a two-parter. The first is, what metrics should we be concerned about, or what should we be looking at? So I think for metrics to be concerned about, I think people will be concerned about sessions and clicks, but knowing that a lot of that is just a result of the experience within the search engine results page and less so of how effective your SEO is key. So Maybe don't be so concerned about those, I think is my takeaway there. The way that you can understand how much traffic is coming to your site from AI sources is you can actually look in the referral sources in GA4 to filter for ChatGPT, Perplexity, and other AI tools. And you can actually see how much referral traffic is coming from those AI sources, which is really great. So we still can't see how much visibility we're getting. So we can't track if someone doesn't click, which is, of course, a large volume of what we so fondly call no-click searches. But you can still see when people do end up clicking after an AI search, how much of that traffic is coming to your site. And then separately, Kim, I think you asked how to improve performance in AI search results. We talked a lot about that today. I think it's really key to have informational content on your website and structure the content on your landing pages to include frequently asked questions from customers. FAQs are really key. That way it sort of hints to the AI tool, hey, if you're getting this question, people also ask that question about the information on my site. So you should serve the information on my site as an answer to that question because I've already done it for you. So sort of leading the AI engines in that way by having those frequently asked questions is key.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. There was just a robust amount of information. For any attendees, you will be receiving a recording of this webinar tomorrow at 8 a.m. your time, along with an additional resource, a holiday prep checklist. And we really appreciate your attendance. Thank you again, Lauren, Megan, and Logan. And if you're interested in upcoming webinars, please visit us at gofishdigital.com. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
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 Bye.
Bye, guys.